And Apple has now cut its losses in half since the earnings warning heard around the world last week. But the stock is still down 35% from its 52-week high. So, in the words of Taylor Swift,
is that who this is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the stock out of the woods yet?
I was going to ask Guy.
Out of the woods.
G Swizz.
No, I'm listening. Was she singing that lick? Yeah, because
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did you see the Taylor Swift thing at the Golden Globes? By the way, it was very endearing.
We could say that for later in the show.
Yeah,
For
I'd say
now,
that
we're going to discuss Apple.
So is
That's
Apple
all right
out of
with
the
you?
woods? No, I don't think Apple is out of the woods. I think Apple got bailed out by a stock market that's rallied 9% since Christmas Eve. I think that's a big part of it. And if you look at Skyworks, which I'm sure we'll talk about, they just pre-announced lower as well. So the fact that it's bounced is probably a good thing, but I do think it's destined to trade back to the levels that we topped out in the middle of 2015, which, as I said a number of times, 128.5, 129. Everything Tim Cook said is probably true, but the bottom line is $1,000 phones, maybe they put themselves in a position where they actually didn't, like we talked about last night, maybe they don't have the pricing power that they thought they had.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, listening to Tim Cook, in some level, it gives me a lot of confidence. And another level, when I hear him say the product pipeline's never been better, I wonder, because in fact, the pipeline's never been fuller. We've got more models, more SKUs than we've ever had with Apple, which I think might be actually confusing investors right now, or consumers, excuse me. I don't think investors are terribly confused. I actually think investors believe that this is a great company who's not facing existential threats to their core business, but that the iPhone is still the major part of the story here, and they're not going to grow in the next couple of years. I am a shareholder. I'm not happy by this guidance, and now I worry about the company's credibility with investors on giving that guide. Not the company, but giving that guide.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, just to follow the tail, haters going to hate this one.
Oh,
Right?
so nice.
Nice.
Hey, so nice. We're going to do that later in the show, though.
Okay.
Well, that's toast.
Yeah.
I am long some Apple. It's been painful. Everything Tim has said. Is China demand as good as it has ever been at this company? No, it isn't, right? So
Right.
I didn't love that spin either, especially given that he is long term, and I absolutely believe that. Why react to what the stock is doing in the very short term? I don't know why he feels
I guess he's not. He's saying that we don't care about the short term. We only care about the long term.
It'll be interesting to see how much stock they are out there buying. Right. We'll find that out next quarter. But I mean, I think at this price, though, it is not pricing in. Wow, this is the best that Apple has ever had it.
No,
so I think you can. It's pricing in some hate there.
For a guy who says he doesn't care about the long term, he's been doing an awful lot of TV interviews since that, right? I mean, they do have a credibility problem. The way that they handled changing their guidance, the way that they guided down, they have a credibility problem, and it's going to take some time to work through that. I don't think you necessarily get hurt if you own Apple here. It's priced in a lot of stuff, but where's the growth going to come from, right? Why is this a growth company, and why should it get a growth multiple? It shouldn't, and it's going to take a couple quarters to work through this.
You think it gets a growth multiple, though?
No,
I don't.
No, but I mean, that's what it would take for this thing to really rally.
I mean, I think let's stop beating up on Apple, because, Samsung's old news at this point, but Samsung came out and basically said the exact same thing as Apple. These guys used to be the largest smartphone player in the world. They guided down 29%. 29%, which was 2.5 times what Apple gave us. So just to be clear, this is an issue out there for the world. And maybe we all, kind of overfed ourselves, not only the holidays with, whatever we might have, but also with smartphones over the last couple of years, because Samsung, to me, is more concerning. And that's a cyclical call, and it's a secular call.
It could be a technology issue. I mean, we spoke to Steve Milanovich of Wolf Research today on Power Lunch, and he was saying, these days, people don't feel the need to upgrade. The technology is great. There are a lot of things that are great. When it comes to AI, AR, all these buzzwords that we're hearing, it's not causing any consumers to rush out and buy new gadgets. At this point, people are holding on to their phones for longer. You spend $1,000 on a phone, you're going to hold on to it for a little bit longer. This is happening across technology. It's not just Apple, although we're focusing on an Apple because they just recently guided.
Yeah, and maybe one of the reasons Apple's, obviously the tape helped today, but maybe one of the reasons Apple is higher is because of Samsung, and the market said, hey, wait a second, Samsung's in a lot worse shape than Apple is, given what Tim's mathematics behind it. But to your secular call, I mean, if everything's going that way, then it is an Apple story as well. So listen, the tape has helped without question. The stock went basically in a straight line from 225 down to, 140-ish or so, and bounced. The bounce was due. I still think there's another leg lower. I think that leg takes us to 138.
Here's a plot twist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Half-hour session, Skyworks, Apple's supplier, took down its guidance. The stock, what's it doing? It's up 2%.
Yeah. Well, so as a trader, that's what they call a tell, in that you have bad news, good price action, probably means that most of this is priced in to Skyworks, certainly, maybe the whole sector, so maybe Apple. You know, I mean, what else is going to come out? We've priced the worst in, so maybe there's going to be a rebound. That's why I don't think you get necessarily hurt in Apple or in Skyworks at this point, because the sellers are already done.
Well, quickly, the night of the Apple news, when we did a 2-hour show, Skyworks was one of the first names we mentioned, and we specifically said you're going to have to see some sort of pre-announcement out of Skyworks. I'm not trying to play Monday morning quarterback. We had that conversation. The stock was trading 68 or so at the time. If you look, it traded down to 61 within 4 or 5 trading days. So this bounce doesn't even get us back to the level that we saw that night. So I think it's exactly that, a bounce, and I would think this will roll over as well.
Everyone should pre-announce. Who needs to?
Oh, absolutely. Get out the door now.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and some of these guys actually, they actually front ran Apple. I mean, if some of the suppliers, and that's the whole story really on these guys. I think the report after the bell tells you there's a bit of a sigh of relief on a bunch of these players, even a Broadcom or some of the other players in the space. I just point out, I think the market only goes as far as the semis can bounce off these lows. And right now, you know, look at the SMH. Somewhere around 88, 89 is where you run into the top of what has been a downtrend since July. So they have not rallied as much as the rest of the market, even in a market that's shown tremendous breadth. And I think we gorged on a lot of chips, a lot of semis, and a lot of new tech in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. This market is going to be driven by the semis and by some of the larger tech names, because that's the names that drove it forward. Once you start losing those again, because you saw it at the last peak, started losing those one by one, that's when you need to be worried about the market rolling over again.